Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkraiTV here, and I attempted a Pokémon UltraMoon Nuzlocke using Ice types only. This Nuzlocke has been the hardest I've ever done by far, as nearly every battle has been super intense, so make sure to watch the video to the end to see how crazy the challenge was. Ice typing is one of the worst due to its many weaknesses to strong typing such as Steel and Fire. There's some okay Ice type encounters available, such as Lapras and Alolan Sandslash, but they are only available at the end of the game, so this is gonna be really tough. The list of pros for using Ice types is short but sweet. I'm sure being super effective against dragons and ground types will be handy throughout this playthrough. Not only do I have to be paranoid about the Elite Four and the Champion, but also pretty much every single trial and plot battle too. As I'm playing on an emulator, the island scans won't be available for me either, and for this reason the available encounters are as follows. We have Jinx, Glaceon, Crabrawler, Aurorus, Shelder, Sandslash, Frostlass or Glalie, Weavile, and finally Castform. Even though the list of encounters is decently sized, many encounters are found only in the same location, leaving me with 8 Pokemon that I can catch. You guys know the rules by now, but here goes. All fainted Pokemon must be permaboxed. There's no overleveling past the Grand Trial Captain's Ace, and for the Elite Four, the cap will be 57. In-game items are also not allowed. I must catch the first Ice-type encounter on each route, and finally, Dupes Claws. I'll have more on these rules in the description down below. Quickly before we start, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. Over 95% of you watching aren't subscribed, it only takes a second but really helps out the channel. Thank you so much, let's get into the video. After getting attacked by this wannabe Alolan Linoon, I get to pick my starter and I go for Popplio due to Incineroar's strength against Ice types. After saving Nebby's life, it blows the bridge up, sending me to my certain demise. I somehow managed to survive the fall, and having my life flash before my eyes made me realize what's really important. Going out in style, and for this reason I upgrade my drip. A green Hawaiian shirt paired with some white pants and a matching hat should do the job. I then run into these Team Skull grunts who seem to be practicing for a first grade hip hop show. I don't think they'll get very far with those kind of moves. After sweeping through the first totem with ease, the Nuzlocke truly starts as I find my first encounter, a wild Smoochum. I catch her and I name her Loki. Her gentle nature is decent. Can you guess what the name theme for the video will be? I then take on the first Grand Trial Captain, Hala. His fighting types will be hard to take on with just Loki, but let's see what her psychic typing can do. First up is Hala's matchup. Confusion isn't enough to kill, but matchup for some reason goes with Focus Energy, allowing Loki to easily take the KO. Next up is Crabrawler. I go for another Confusion, but Hala still hasn't learned his lesson here and goes for Leer instead of doing any damage. He goes down to the very next hit. Last but not least is Makuhita. He actually goes for a Fake Out, which does massive damage against Loki due to her low physical defense. After Loki lands a Confusion, Makuhita goes for a Sand Attack and goes down to a Confusion right after. 1 Grand Trial down, 3 to go. After this, I stumble into one of the most fun things I've ever done in a Pokemon game. Mantine surfing. If I wasn't making this Nuzlocke, I'd probably be doing Lantern 360s all day long. I hope they had more of this kind of content in the future, it adds so much more enjoyment to the game. I then run into my second encounter, an Eevee. I name him Hulk and his mild nature is once again decent. I also found this Pikachu Haven, which I thought was really cool. I then run into Gladion, who challenges me to a battle. He goes with Zubat while I go for Eevee. I go for my first ever Z move here, and wow, these moves are cool. And also very long. The Zubat turned out to be a Zorua, but he went down to 1 hit anyways. Now for the real Zubat. I go for a Bite which does some decent damage, but after getting hit by a Wing Attack, I take him down with a Stab Quick Attack. Last up is Gladion's Type Null. The name's weird, but it's fitting, I guess. After being left at just 6 health after hitting 3 Swifts, a 4th one finally takes it out. Nice try, Gladion. I then take on the next Island Trial and face the giant Araquanid. I lead with Eevee and go for a Breakneck Blitz which does some serious damage. I hit a Swift which is really convenient due to it hitting multiple targets. It allows me to take down Araquanid in 2 hits while also severely damaging Masquerain. After getting paralyzed, 1 more quick attack finishes this trial off. After encountering this wild Epic Games employee, I catch my next encounter, a Shelder. I name her Female, whose naive nature I am a fan of. Right after this, I find and catch a Crabrawler who I name Cap. His calm nature is pretty bad, but fitting for a guy who's been frozen for nearly 70 years. I then take on Kiawe's trial. Totem, Marowak, and Salazzle's typing is perfect here, so I have to be very careful. I lead with Cap and start off by using Work Up and get hit by a Flame Wheel. Marowak then goes for Detect and Salazzle goes for a Torment, allowing me to use Hydro Vortex against Salazzle, easily taking him out. Cap then barely tanks a Flame Wheel on 2 HP, which lets him get off a Bubble Beam. I then switch to Female for his typing and high physical defense and go for a Clamp to stall him out. I then go for Protect on the next turn, which allows for Clamp to finish my rock off. Well played, team. Next up is Mellow's Island Trial. I get ambushed at the next Cauldron and face the next Totem Pokemon, Lurantis. I lead with Hulk, who I've taught Last Resort, and this allows for Breakneck Blitz to have a base power of 200 without including stab. The damage this move does is insane. It's almost enough to land a one hit. On the next turn, I seal the deal with a quick attack while Comfy sets up a Sunny Day. I switch out to Female and get left on just 1 HP after a Magical Leaf. I miss my Clamp and have to switch out again. Cap easily tanks a Magical Leaf and sets the tone for the rest of the battle. A couple of Dizzy Punches easily score the win here. On to the captain we go. I run into this funny looking detective called Looker, who references somebody trying to create a new world. I could never see Pokemon games having such a bland plot like that. Just kidding, I love you, Cyrus. I'm then handed a Sail Fossil, which I exchange for an Amora. I name him Thanos, whose docile nature really doesn't do too much. After some training, I take on the Island Kahuna, Olivia. I lead with Cap against her Anorith. I go with Work Up while she goes for Metal Claw. I go for another Work Up, and after tanking Metal Claw, I score the one hit with Brick Break. The Leap is up next, but due to Cap's boosted attack stat, it's an easy one hit. And last up is Olivia's Ace, a Lycanroc. Cap easily tanks his bite, and then destroys him with a Brick Break. Nice try, Olivia. There goes the second island trial. We're halfway there. Me and Hao then take this luxury cruise to an ocean resort called the Aether Paradise. It's not so much of a paradise as I run into this extraterrestrial jellyfish who I don't think I'm ready to face yet. I train Loki until she evolves, and then feel ready to take on the levitating Medusa. It doesn't end up being too much of a challenge though, and it easily gets taken out with a couple of confusions. Me and Hao then make our way to the third island, Ula Ula. Hao challenges me to a battle right away. Let's see what he can do. He leads with Torracat while I go for Female. He goes for a Bite while I go for a super effective Hydro Vortex. As you can probably guess here, he really stands no chance. Leafeon's out next though, so I have to switch out to Loki. Leafeon's quick attack does a ton of damage, but Powder Snow does way more. The second one easily finishes him off. Hao then sends out Noibat, so switch out to Thanos, whose evolution I forgot to record, my bad. One Ancient Power easily takes out Noibat. Then comes his Alolan Raichu. Thanos easily tanks Electro Ball, and after surviving Psychic, he takes out Raichu with an Avalanche. Last up is Hao's Tauros. He goes for a Horn Attack which barely does any damage. 2 Avalanches are easily enough to end this battle and take down Hao. How fun. Sophocles' trial is next. Let's see what we can do. Togedemaru then ambushes me from above the pipes. His increased defense stat is going to be really tough. I send out Cap and start setting up with Work Up while Togedemaru bounces. I protect and easily avoid the damage. I then go for Cap's Z move, all out pummeling against Skarmory, but her Sturdy lets her live. Togedemaru seems to be having a lot of fun with Spiky Shield, so we completely ignore him and take out Skarmory. I then continue the setup with Work Up while Togedemaru keeps on spamming Bounce. This ends up going on for a long time until I finally feel brave enough to go for the KO with Brick Break. Togedemaru actually ends up missing, but goes down to 1 hit anyways. We then face Guzma, who will become perhaps the most annoying recurring character in this game later on. Just wait. He leads with Golisopod while I go for Thanos. 1 Ancient Power is enough to activate his emergency exit here, so out comes Masquerain. Bug Buzz ends up being a crit here, and does insane damage against Thanos. He does go down to 1 Ancient Power though. Golisopod gets sent out again, but there's no more running away this time as Ancient Power scores the win. See ya later, Guzma. After finding a Water Stone, I use it to evolve Female into a Cloyster. It could have had something to do with it being 3 AM when I played this, but this Mimikyu genuinely jumpscared me here. I thought this game was child friendly. Here comes Totem Mimikyu. She goes for Play Rough, while Thanos goes with Reflect. Bennett is extremely dangerous here due to him having Will-O-Wisp, which lowers attack, so I make it a priority to take him out. I start with Bulldoze to lower both Mimikyu's and Bennett's speed, and to take out Mimikyu's disguise. Bennett does burn me here though. I go for one more Bulldoze to lower the enemy's speed once more to the point where I'm faster than both of them, and then go for a Rest to heal up. Thanos wakes up straight away due to his chest strawberry. I go for a Freeze Dry against Bennett, and it takes him out in 1 hit due to it being a crit. Mimikyu doesn't do too much with Play Rough either. I then set up with Reflect again, and switch it to Female due to her 180 base defense stat. Mimikyu does nothing against her. I go for a Hydro Vortex against Mimikyu, which ends up doing massive damage. Jellicent's not too much of a threat, so I keep focusing on Mimikyu. One Razor Shell isn't quite enough to finish her off, but the next one easily is. I don't know why Jellicent keeps spamming Spite, but I'm not complaining. I go for a clamp and eventually stall him out, finishing yet another totem. These battles are really starting to become challenging. Now for that Guzma fight I was talking about earlier. This battle took me way too long to figure out, and the only way that I find it being possible was me taking most of my team to the level cap and overleveling half of them. I lead with Thanos and go for a Continental Crush against Golisopod, forcing the switch out. Now for the bane of my existence, a Pinsir. I switch out to female, who gets hit by a Storm Throw. I go for a Torment against Pinsir and get left with 32 health. I then switch back to Thanos, who easily tanks a Throat Chop. I then go for Protect to block the next Storm Throw and go for a Rock Slide on the next turn to do some big damage. I once again use Protect to evade the Storm Throw and hit another big Rock Slide after tanking a Throat Chop. I switch out to Loki because of her typing and manage to take out Pinsir with Psychic. Now for Masquerain. I can outspeed him here, but have no chance of taking him out with one hit, so after hitting a Powder Snow, it's game over for Loki. You've served us well though. I go for female and easily finish him off with an Ice Shard. Golisopod's up last, and due to his move First Impression, I go for Protect, which secures me the win as he can no longer take me out. I go for a Razor Shell and then switch out to Cap. I go for a Rock Slide, which finally lands us the win here. Nice try, Guzma. Here comes Nanu. This fight would have been very easy, apart from the fact that I can only use Hulk and Cap because everybody else is now overleveled. Cap has a bad base stat total, can get one hit by Krokorok, and can't outspeed him. Or can he? Let's see what I can do. I lead with Hulk and go for Protect to not take any fake out damage. I toss Hulk Iron Tail just to get in some good Corkscrew crash damage. Sableye gets a crit with her first Power Gem, which is not good news. I hit Iron Tail and still manage to tank one more Power Gem. I then switch out to Cap. I easily tank Power Gem and finish off Sableye with Crabhammer. I need to learn Dynamic Punch here or this Persian will be impossible. But I need to get past Krokorok first though. He has Intimidate, but my Hyper Cutter cancels it out. I also have an Adrenaline Orb equipped to boost my speed when intimidated. This allows for Cap to outspeed and one-shot Krokorok with just a Brick Break. And last up is Persian. All I have to do is land a Dynamic Punch. I first Protect to not take any fake out damage, and after tanking a Dark Pulse, I actually hit a Dynamic Punch. This causes for Nanu to use a full heal, which easily lets me take out Persian with a Brick Break. I wish I could say the game gets easier from here on out, but nope, it really doesn't. There goes our second to last Grand Challenge. Guzma, Guzma, Guzma. Here we go again. This time, however, the level cap just changed, so I'll have some high level Pokemon to take him on. He sends out his Golisopod while I go for Thanos. I go for a Rock Polish while he nearly takes me out with Razor Shell. I then go for a Freeze Dry, which nearly takes him out, and he gets switched into a Vikavolt. He could be extremely deadly, so I go for a Continental Crush here to seal the deal and take him out. This time, due to my level advantage and increased speed, I can stay against Pinsir and land the one shot with a Rock Slide. Golisopod comes back out next for some reason, as he also falls to one hit. Masquerain is next, and after barely tanking a Freeze Dry, he goes for an Icy Wind to lower my speed. This allows for him to outspeed me and nearly take me out using Bug Buzz. He leaves me with just 6 HP. He of course does go down to a Freeze Dry though. Not so tough this time, are you, Guzma? Next up I face Lusamine, who actually doesn't end up being as hard as I thought. She leads with Clefable while I go for Thanos. I start off with Rock Polish while I easily tank her Psychic. I end up missing an Iron Tail, after which Moonblast does good damage. I go for an Iron Tail which nearly takes out Clefable, but after tanking her Psychic, Thanos is left at 31 health. One more Iron Tail finishes her off though. Next up is Beware. I gave Thanos his Psychic Zedstone, so this shouldn't be too much of an issue. Shattered Psyche is easily enough to score the one-hit KO. Lilligant is up next, but her typing causes her downfall here, as Freeze Dry is an easy one-hit. Milotic is up next, and as she's pretty tanky, she survives a Freeze Dry. She for some reason goes for Icy Wind, which lets me finish her off with the next hit. I swear this game's AI is busted or something, because Hydro Pump would have been a run-ender. Last up is Lusamine's Lopunny. I switch to female due to her high defense here. I start off with a Torment here, after which I go for Protect. I then go for a Razor Shell, which does massive damage here and also lowers her defense. This, in combination with a crit, allows for an easy KO with one more Razor Shell. Lusamine and Guzma then go and hunt down Necrozma. With teams like that, yeah, good luck. Lily also unlocked her Z-powered form. Good for you, I guess. I then finally find a Lapras and I catch her with a Master Ball. I name her Widow. Her adamant nature is absolutely horrible, as I'll only be using special moves on her. I then realize a massive mistake I made in this playthrough. I could have caught Snorunt and an Alolan Sandshrew way earlier. That would have made the run a bit easier, but oh well, you live and you learn. I call Snorunt Scarlet, and she's a relaxed nature, which is good and bad. I name Sandshrew Vision, and his nature is serious, which is neutral. I evolve Vision into a Sandslash with an Ice Stone, turning him into an absolute beast. And after way too many hours of grinding in the Poképelago, I managed to evolve Scarlet into a Frostlass. I also managed to get a pair of choice specs from this man right here. I then take on the second to last Totem Pokemon. Kommo-o. I lead with Scarlet, who's leading with Choice Specs, and after tanking a Dragon Claw, I manage to hit a Blizzard. I then tank another Dragon Claw and manage to hit yet another Blizzard, which easily takes out Kommo-o and heavily damages Scizor, who goes for a Light Screen. I switch out to Female, and after easily tanking Scizor's hit, I finish the battle off with a Hydro Vortex. One Totem left to go. Before that though, me and Lily practice our flute skills, which hurts Nebizir so much, he turns into Lunala and tries to fly away. Necrozma stops him though and takes us on here, but goes down to a single Shadow Ball. If only the real battle would be this easy. I evolve Cap into a Carbonable here, and then ride Solgaleo into the Ultra Megalopolis, where I take on the Bane of all Nuzlocks, Ultra Necrozma. I bet you guys will never guess how I beat it. I lead with Widow, who's holding a Focus Sash, and I go for Toxic. I then go for Protect, and switch out to Cap, who I know can survive a Power Gem. After going for Protect on Cap, I switch out to Vision. After one more Protect, it's game over. What an exciting battle, not? After tediously beating every single captain again, I finally take on the last Totem Pokemon, Ribombee. She's above the level cap and all her stats are doubled, so I gotta be careful here. She goes for a Quiver Dance while I set up with Swords Dance. I then go for a super effective Corkscrew Crash, which to nobody's surprise is an easy one hit. I also easily take out Pelipper, which leaves me with only the last grandchild left to go. Here she comes, the last Kahuna, and the only one who won't be an absolute nightmare due to her typing. I take her on with a Choice Spec holding Lapras. Golurk easily goes down to one Ice Beam after being outsped. Mudsdale goes down the same way. And although Flygon outspeeds Widow here, he has even less of a chance of surviving due to his typing. Gastrodon actually tanks an Ice Beam pretty well, and hits a Mud Bomb right after. After this happens again, Hapu goes for a Hyper Potion instead of a Max Potion for some reason, which allows for Widow to easily score the win with a couple of Ice Beams. And just like that, I beat the final Grand Trial. I can't believe we made it this far with only Ice types. Let's see if we can actually beat the game though. I make my way to one of the coolest Elite Four entrances ever made, a secret hideout literally inside the walls of Mount Lanakila. Satisfied with my preparations, I decide to take on the Pokemon League. I'm gonna go for the toughest Elite Four member, Malie, last, to give me some time to level up and get the upper hand. I start off by taking on the Flying type leader, Kahili. Vision Steel typing is perfect for this battle, so I lead with him against Braviary. Braviary goes for a Brave Bird while I start off with Iron Defense. We both repeat the same moves again. I go for it one last time to really buff my defense up to the max. I then go for a Swords Dance, but Braviary's Air Slash leaves me at 28 health. This is fine though, as he really doesn't do too much damage. This allows for me to use Rest and wake up right away with a Chesto Berry. I then keep setting up with Swords Dance while he hopelessly goes for Air Slashes. Now that I'm fully buffed up, I get the easy KO with Iron Head. Hawlucha's up next, and even though Vision is super weak to fighting, his buffed up defense lets him easily tank a Flying Press and then one-shot Hawlucha. Then comes a Mandibuzz who really can't do too much either. Toucannon's up next, and he heats up his beak, which lets me easily score the one hit while keeping me alive enough to switch out on the next turn. And last up is Oricorio, so I switch to Widow. She gets hit pretty hard with Revelation Dance and flinches due to an Air Slash. This forces me to switch out again to Thanos. Freeze Dry ends up doing massive damage, and even though Thanos is confused, he still gets off the next hit and finishes off the battle. Here we come, Olivia. Her team of rock types shouldn't be way too hard, even though they do have the typing advantage. Let's see what she can do. She goes with Armaldo while I lead with Vision. I once again start setting up with Iron Defense. I easily tank his X-Scissors and keep on setting up with Iron Defense. Once my defense is fully buffed up, I start setting up with Swords Dance. After Vision's stats are fully maxed, I go for a Rest, which he wakes up from instantly due to another Chesto Berry. Armaldo then goes down to an Iron Head. Lycanroc once again can't get a single move off as he goes down to a single hit. Probopass actually manages to survive with Sturdy, but she ends up flinching, so it's game over for her too. Gigalith's ability lets him set up with Sandstorm, but it's of no use as he's also an easy one hit. Last but not least, she sends out Cradily. Unfortunately though, it's not enough to stop the sweep, and there goes Olivia. We're halfway there. Now, for a bit more challenge, I take on Acerola, the Ghost type leader. She leads with Bennett, while I decide to go for Scarlet, who's holding a Choice Specs. One Shadow Ball easily finishes Bennett's career. Next up, she sends out a Delmise, who actually manages to tank a Shadow Ball, and hits back pretty hard with a Shadow Ball. The next one takes it out though. Due to Scarlet's speed decreasing nature, I have to switch out to Vision here. Froslass goes for a Confuse Ray, but Vision's Prison Berry completely counters it, and allows for the easy takedown with Iron Head. Next up is Palossand, so I decide to switch out to Widow. After easily tanking her Earth Power, I go for a Sub-Zero Slammer, which is more than enough to take her out. Last up is her Drifblim. She goes for Amnesia while I go for Ice Beam. Widow's ability, in addition to Drifblim's setup, causes me to do low damage here. After finally taking her to low health, I switch out to female. Icicle Crush ends up doing major damage, and after Drift Bloom goes for focus energy, it's a game over for Acerola. Now here comes the real challenge, Molane's team full of steel types. Let's see if I can even make it to the champion. I lead with Vision against Molane's Klefki. I go for a Swords Dance while Klefki sets up with Reflect. After going for another Swords Dance and Klefki setting up with Spikes, I go for an Iron Head which nearly takes him out. I go for the finisher here, but he switches out to Metagross. This is fine as he should go for Hammer Arm, so I switch out to Frostlass. He ends up switching out right after to Dugtrio for some reason, which completely ruins my plan. I switch out to Widow right after. Dugtrio also gets a crit with Earthquake, leaving Widow at just 17 HP. I go for Protect just to make sure I know he'll go for a Bullet Punch, and then switch out to female. I then finally switch back to Scarlet, but now most of my team members are hurt with Spikes, which is really bad. Metagross goes for Hammer Arm, which is perfect, as now Scarlet's Never-Ending Nightmare allows for an easy one-hit KO. He then sends out Bisharp, so I switch to Vision. He goes for an Iron Head, which ends up making me flinch, and with the additional Spikes damage, I have no choice but to switch out. I send out Female, who goes for a Torment on Bisharp before being taken out by Iron Head. You've done well, rest easy. I send out Cap here due to his typing, and after dodging Metal Sound, Bisharp gets annihilated by Close Combat. Then comes his Magnezone. Close Combat doesn't end up being enough here, and Cap goes down too. I send out Scarlet to finally finish Magnezone up for the Wake Up Slap. Klefki is back for more, but not much more, as Shadow Ball easily takes him out too. We've managed to take the win, but with only 4 team members left. Now let's see what I can do against Hao. I make my way to the top of the Pokemon League, after which Kukui brings in Hao to battle me for a shut-up becoming champion. Let's see which one of us will claim the title of Alola's first ever champion. Here we come, Hao. I lead with Scarlet against Hao's Alolan Raichu. I can't risk letting him hit me twice, so I go for a Never-Ending Nightmare to secure the one hit. Next up is Incineroar. I go for a Blizzard to desperately try to freeze him, but I only manage to barely scratch him and get taken out right after. I send out Thanos next. I manage to tank an Earthquake, which allows me to do some serious damage while slowing him down. This allows for Thanos to land yet another Rock Tomb, which nearly takes Incineroar out. After this, it's game over for Thanos though. You've been invaluable, Thanos. Thanks for everything. I send out Vision next to finish Incineroar off. Hao sends out Tauros next, so I decide to switch out to Widow. First go for Protect, and then go with Toxic. I then Protect to get some poison damage in. I switch back to Vision here because Tauros will have to heal up in 2 turns, and I can easily tank a Double Edge. After surviving an Earthquake, I go for an Air Defense to set up. I then go for a Rest as I know he'll heal up too. Vision's Lumberry wakes him up right away. Vision now easily tanks an Earthquake and keeps setting up with Iron Defense. Vision's defense is now fully buffed up, so I go for a Swords Dance. I then choose to go for another Rest, because with the buffed up defense, Tauros has no chance of taking me out here. After eventually waking up, I go for Swords Dance 2 more times to fully boost Vision's attack, and I rest again. After Vision finally wakes up, he takes Tauros down with just 1 hit. Next up is Crabominable. He's faster, so it lands a quite effective power-up punch. It does a big chunk of damage, but not enough to scare me quite yet. 1 Iron Head finishes him off too. Next up is his Noivern, against who I misclick and I go for Rest. His Dark Pulse does decent damage, but shouldn't be enough to kill unless Vision chooses to keep sleeping here. He eventually wakes up and takes down Noivern with just 17 health. And last but not least is his Leafeon. With Vision's insane defense and Leafeon's not very effective Leaf Blade, this should actually be possible. Leafeon ends up going for Baby Doll Eyes for some reason, and that's the end of the game for Hao as we somehow managed to take the win. We actually managed to do it, guys. This was my first time ever playing Gen 7, and I gotta say, this game is easily in my top 5 games. This playthrough was a lot of fun, even though the challenge was really hard. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this run as much as I enjoyed playing it. If you enjoyed the video, remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below on what you want to see next. I'll see you guys soon, peace out.